Ladies and gentlemen, we are live!
I'm Jerry.
I'm Kevin.
And I'm Tom.
It's time!
Live from the CSB studios in Westbury, New York,
It's the Tom and Jerry Sports Show.
featuring co-host Kevin Dolan and the host that's been here since day one, Jerry Napoleonello.
On Zeno Radio and
On All Noise Radio.
Tom and Jerry Sports Show live on Zeno Radio, Cyberstation USA, All Noise Radio, Stitcher, and the Live 365 apps. I'm Jerry Knapp. He's Kevin Downland. Thanks for deciding to spend your afternoon with us. I want to wish everyone a happy and healthy new year. We got a lot to talk about today. The NFL regular season has come to an end, and the wild card matchups are set. And, man, it's going to be fun. The number to call, 605-562-7085. Press 5 to be heard live. But first, let's start off with the Tom and Jerry Sports Show 60-second summary.
That's right. Sunday Night Football with the NFC North title on the line. The Minnesota Vikings flew to Green Bay to face off against their division rival Packers. The Vikings held the lead in this one for the whole game, but the Packers held tough with another try for a miracle Hail Mary. The Packers came up just short, 20-13. Vikings finally dethrone the Packers and win the NFC North. Packers face off against Washington and the Redskins as the Vikings take on the Seattle Seahawks coming into the next week for the wild card round.
Bridgewater out of the short gun to Peterson, and Adrian Peterson with a burst. They signal touchdown. So Adrian will look like he was stopped from the first touchdown of the game.
It was very simple for the New York Jets this week. Win and you're in. As they flew to Buffalo to face off against Rex Ryan and the Buffalo Bills, there was nothing more important in Rex Ryan's mind than beating the Jets and keeping them out of the playoffs, and he did just that. Fitzpatrick was picked off 3 times, 2 coming in the last 2 minutes of the game, and primarily ending the Jets season.
The Jets in desperation mode. Fitzpatrick. Picked off. It's over. A.J. Tarpley. A painful ending.
Before heading into the game versus the Eagles, rumors going around that Tom Coughlin would step down as head coach of the New York Giants, and that is yet to happen. But if he does, there are names like Nick Saban, Sean Payton, and Mike Shanahan out there. But strong rumors around the New York Giants is that Ben McAdoo will be hired to take over. Because of the Jets' loss and their win, the Steelers get in as the wild card team. And with their decisive win over the Jacksonville Jaguars, the Texans win the AFC South. And because the Patriots lost to the Dolphins and their win over the San Diego Chargers, the resurgence of Peyton Manning and the Denver Broncos win home field advantage throughout the playoffs. Chiefs locked up the top wild card spot after their 10th win in a row. And I'm Kevin Dolan with your Tom and Jerry Sports Show 60-second summary, brought to you by Overtime. The game never ends.
I wish I knew why it's saying, please wait a moment on here, but I don't. But you look a little bit depressed.
Yeah, man. Jets being a brutal that was a brutal season for the New York Jets, winning 10 games and not making the playoffs. It's just a tough situation. As any football fan, you usually realize that at the most part, when you win your 10th game or double-digit wins, you're most likely going to get a playoff berth. And for the New York Jets, this is the worst kind of season you can have. You don't make the playoffs, you're probably going to have the worst draft pick of all the teams that did not make the playoffs. It's just not a great season for the Jets as a whole. No one wants to be the team that the Jets are right now, being that team is on the outside looking in just outside the playoffs.
Fitzpatrick didn't look good at all. You know, it just ended the Jets season not the way they wanted to. I mean, at least you're not 4-12 like the Dallas Cowboys were, and getting the 4th overall pick. Hopefully they do draft a quarterback, but we'll see what happens. But, I mean, I feel your pain. Usually the Cowboys are going into Week 17 and losing that game and missing the playoffs. So I know how you feel about that. But let's go into the Vikings and the Packers game. NFC North title was on the line in this one. The Vikings went to Green Bay, and I mean they were in the lead basically the whole game. And you know, the Packers kind of came back towards the end. They had a chance. Aaron Rodgers ended up throwing a pick in the end zone, I think, with about 2 minutes left. They ended up getting the ball back, tried for another Hail Mary, like the Detroit Lion game, but it didn't come the way that Lions game did. The Packers end up being the top wild card team, I believe.
Yeah.
And then, you know, the Vikings take the NFC North and end up playing Seattle now. And, you have Green Bay playing Washington. In a way, it's like, who won out of this game? And to be honest with you, I have to say that it was the Green Bay Packers. Even though they lost this game, they lost the NFC North. But they're going to Washington to play probably the weaker team out of the whole NFC playoffs. So I feel like the Packers won this game even though they lost in reality.
Yeah, absolutely. No one wants to take on the Seattle Seahawks right now. They are clear-cut the hottest team in the NFL right now. Russell Wilson is on fire. That defense isn't, any less hot than they are right now. For the Minnesota Vikings, this game being at home, huge impact for them. Obviously, the Seattle Seahawks are no joke. But if any other team in the NFC is going to match up, I think Minnesota would have matched up a lot better than the Green Bay Packers. I mean, when it comes down to it, the Packers' defense is a little bit of a question mark. And, their offense has been, the cornerstone of their team, and they haven't been able to get it done. So for you to say that this is going to be an easy game against the Washington Redskins, this could be an easy game for the Washington Redskins as opposed to the Green Bay Packers. The Green Bay Packers do not look intimidating at all. Aaron Rodgers does not look any less intimidating than he has before. Washington knows how to attack the quarterback, and they could potentially put Aaron Rodgers on his, rear end a couple of times in this game.
Yeah, I mean, their offensive line, like you said, is weak. But, I mean, it is Aaron Rodgers. Mm-hmm. I think obviously not having Jordy Nelson really hurts them. And in the beginning of the season, you didn't really think that this was going to hurt them as much as it did. But it really just showed.
They need another playmaker on that team. I know Aaron Rodgers does a great job at creating players, but, to some degree, I've seen all these touchdowns by James Jones. He's had to go up and get these balls. He's never open.
No.
And neither is Randall Cobb.
Well,
Corliss or whoever the tight end, Richard Rodgers, whoever the tight end has been for the Green Bay Packers has not gotten open.
Yeah.
Unless he picks somebody and catches a Hail Mary towards the end. And that was one of the wins that Green Bay had as well. So they have obviously been having a very, very, very big struggle. I mean, that was against Detroit. This is against Minnesota. These are not the overwhelming teams in the NFC right now. When you look at the NFC royalty, you're looking at the Carolina Panthers, the Arizona Cardinals, the Seattle Seahawks. Those are the teams that you're going to have to get through. And for me to say that Green Bay has any shot to get through these teams, I absolutely do not think so. Do I think Washington has a chance to get through these teams? I do not think so. Yeah. And when it comes down to it, between these three teams that I just mentioned, that's what it's going to come down to in the NFC. And unfortunately for one of those teams, basically, obviously, Arizona, it's funny because when it comes down to the NFC picture, you look at the fact that Arizona is going to take on the winner of, you would say Green Bay and Washington, unless the Seattle Seahawks go on to win that game. So you're looking at a potential Arizona-Seattle matchup
for the third time this year,
with Carolina getting their pick of the choice between Washington and Green Bay, and it comes vice versa if Minnesota wins. If Minnesota wins, then Carolina has to take on either Washington or Green Bay. So it's really, when it comes down to it, it's going to be really funny to see how it comes out.
If you don't really know what he's trying to say, it's basically the number one seed. If the number one seed is going to play the lowest seed, so it's going to be the 6 or the 5.
The Seattle Seahawks hold the number 6.
Yeah, and when you look at it, depending on who wins and everything like that, it's going to be interesting to see. But an Arizona-Seattle game in the playoffs is going to be a good one. It's going to be the third time that they're facing. Each of them having a equally dominant game. I mean, when they were in Seattle, Arizona dominated them. When they were in, Arizona this past week, Seattle dominated them. But the thing is also, was Arizona kind of having their foot off the pedal? Was that how it was? Was it going to be, are you going to see the Arizona that you saw in Seattle? Or are you going to see the Arizona that you saw, in Arizona against Seattle? So you don't know. I feel Arizona is the most complete team in the whole NFL, to be honest with you. I think this is a solid team, even with the loss of Tyrann Mathieu. I still think that they're a solid team defensively. They're one of the best offensive team. It's going to be a good game if we end up seeing Arizona and Seattle face off again. But I honestly think Arizona comes out of the NFC, to be honest with you.
Yeah, I agree 100%. There's no reason to disagree with you right there. They look like a complete team. This looks like a team when they took on the Seattle Seahawks in Week 17, dropping 36-6. They took a back seat. They understood that Carolina Panthers were taking on the Tampa Bay Buccaneers at home nonetheless. And, Carolina would win that game with ease, which they did, of course.
Please wait a moment.
And, for the Cardinals taking the back seat right now to take the number 2 seed, it makes you question whether it's the right decision or not, but we'll find out. I mean, it really comes down to the winner of the Minnesota-Seattle game. So, when it comes to getting the easiest path, there's no such thing as the easy path to the Super Bowl. You need to earn every win because every team in the NFL is a competitive team. You're going to have a hard time. I mean, just ask the New York Jets. Had a hard time against the Buffalo Bills, even the Texans. Every team in this tournament, is a way to put it, has a chance to win the Super Bowl right now. But when it comes down to it, yes, Arizona has the best chance coming out of the NFC. When we move over to the AFC right now, it comes down to the fact that you're looking at a bye week for the Denver Broncos, the number 1 seed by the Denver Broncos, who have dealt with their share of injuries. And on that defensive side, they are an intimidating team.
Yeah.
They're going to be a good team and a strong team to play.
The question was, do you start Brock Osweiler or Peyton Manning if Peyton Manning's healthy? This game was the first game ever in Peyton Manning's career that he was active and not the starter. The question was, when does Peyton Manning come in? I mean, I think everybody was questioning it. Everybody was wondering if he was going to come into this game. Myself, I knew he was coming in this game. I didn't know when. I didn't know, what the circumstances were going to be, but I knew he was going to be in that game. Brock Osweiler throws 2 picks, and then it was Peyton Manning time. Do you continue with Peyton Manning?
Of course.
I think you have to.
I've been saying Peyton Manning has been the way to go. This guy is a Hall of Famer, a legend. Apparently, according to some no-name that already took out his report, he's also on drugs, on HGH, which is amusing in itself.
Did you see the names on that?
Yeah, but you know what? At the same time, they got recapped pretty quickly.
Oh, well, yeah, definitely.
Like, why come out and say something like that unless
and
you're
now he's
trying to
get
make a
sued.
name for yourself? Yeah, and that's exactly what happens out of that. That's why he tried to revamp his story real quick.
Oh, real quick.
I mean, you don't see stories like that come out at 3 o'clock in the morning on ESPN, and that's exactly when it came out. I mean, it's 3 o'clock in the morning Eastern time, and we're hearing a story like this on ESPN at 3 o'clock in the morning?
Yeah.
There's something really suspect right there.
Yeah. And it wasn't even – it had nothing to do with Peyton Manning, really. Like, the reason why he did it was to get back at someone else. Why put Peyton Manning's name in there? I mean, yeah, obviously that's one of the biggest names that you'll see with steroids or, HGH in football. And, with the epidemic of concussions, this could end up being an epidemic as well. If you start coming out with players, and HGH, I mean, this could be an ugly thing for the NFL just as much as, concussions are.
Absolutely. In this day and age, social media has become such a pivotal part of people's lives. Well, now there's an app called Overtime that brings sports and social media together.
It allows you to post photos as well as video of all sports-related news and highlights. It gives you access to debate all sports topics with other sports fanatics, as well as giving you a platform to break sports news yourself.
Go to the iTunes App Store to download Overtime, an app for sports lovers made by sports lovers.
A wild Week 17 yesterday. It's only going to get better with the wild card round coming up. We'll continue to recap the games from last week, and then we'll preview this week's wild card games next on the Tom and Jerry Sports Show.
Do you have sports opinions? Or do you want to start your own sports debate? Then Overtime is right for you. Overtime is an app for sports lovers made by sports lovers. This is the best place to talk about sports. Overtime is available at the iTunes App Store. Be a part of something big and help us take the game to OT. Overtime. The game never ends. Follow the NFL this season on the Tom and Jerry Sports Show.
CyberStation USA is the future of radio. Get your business into the online future at the world's largest internet radio station. From banner placement on our homepage to any of our broadcaster stages, commercials on our video player, audio spots on any of our shows, or at the beginning of any of our on-demand broadcasts. CyberStation USA offers competitive rates with a worldwide reach. A fully integrated one-stop shop social media broadcast platform. For more information, please contact our sales department at cameo@cyberstationusa.com.
All Noise Radio. Powered by the Connecticut School of Broadcasting. All Noise Radio is an internet radio station that's fully produced by graduates of the Connecticut School of Broadcasting. From modern rock to old school hip hop, country to classical, news, talk, sports, and more. It's the noise you can't ignore. Log on to allnoiseradio.com. Fire up the station. Find out more about your favorite jocks. Get the latest CSB news and more. Plus, you can take All Noise Radio with you on the go for free. Just download the Live 365 app to your iPhone, iPod Touch, or BlackBerry and search All Noise Radio. Check out tomorrow's broadcasters today at allnoiseradio.com. Powered by the Connecticut School of Broadcasting.
Tom and Jerry Sports Show featuring Kevin Donlin live every Monday on Zeno Radio and re-airs every Thursday at 2 p.m. Eastern on Cyberstation USA and the Stitcher app. You can also tune in every Wednesday and Friday at 5 p.m. Eastern on All Noise Radio and the Live 365 app.
Follow us on Instagram at Tom and Jerry Sports Show and join the conversation on Twitter at TNJ Sports, or visit our website at tnjsports.weebly.com, or call in to 605-562-7085. Press 5 to be heard live.
5 on it, hands on your knees, rotation. The way she make it clap, send an ovation. Do it like you do it when there's no one home. Do it like you do when you got nothing on.
We are back, and we're going to continue with the recap of Week 17. And apparently we're going to please wait a moment.
Well, yeah. Give us a second. So we're back. We waited a moment. Hopefully it stops saying that.
Yeah, we're having some major technical difficulties today.
Yeah, I don't think you could get any worse on the air than what we did today. I mean, I don't think I've had a worse day in the studio than today.
Yeah, it's been a struggle. This is between this app and everything else.
I mean, you'd think it would be a nice time, especially with playoffs coming up, but that
the
totally
stress
went
is,
out.
well, come on. These NFL players are stressing more and more come playoff time, and so are we. So, as we continue to head towards playoff time, we get our recap of Week 17. The Chiefs and Raiders, we start off with that, and Raiders obviously thought would be one of the biggest spoilers in the NFL this week. Obviously, the Chiefs knocking off the Raiders 23-17 at home, completing the sweep of the Oakland Raiders. Raiders obviously going to have a great future moving on. This is a young team. There was a lot to learn. It takes time to be effective in the NFL. And for the Oakland Raiders, they've had a couple of down seasons, and they're on the up and coming. They will be a force come next season, as soon as next season. That sounds crazy enough. Chiefs moving on. They win their 10th in a row. They are playoff bound. They are the number 5 seed. They will be heading to Houston to take on the Houston Texans, in the wild card round.
Breaking news. Tom Coughlin is out as the Giants coach. Now we'll see what happens now. It sounds like he resigned. I don't know the full reasoning, but he was supposed to meet with ownership today, but he is out now. The Giants are now looking for a new coach, and as we said in the 60-second summary, it sounds like Ben McAdoo might be the guy, but you're going to hear names like Sean Payton.
If the Giants chose to get rid of Tom Coughlin, which I don't think they did. I think this was Coughlin's decision to get away from the game, and while you're high, this wasn't. If the Giants decided to part ways with Tom Coughlin, this was not the correct move. I've talked about this on previous shows. With the New York Giants, this was not a head coach problem.
No,
this is a two-time winning.
You know what? This is more of a GM problem. I mean, you couldn't have any worse of drafts that Jerry Reese has had, in the last 5 years.
You're looking at, an offensive lineman, Eric Flowers, in the first round this past season. This was something the Giants really needed to point out.
To be honest with you,
Odell Beckham Jr.
Other than him and Odell, who other than those two can you say that they drafted that actually stuck around and will end up being a very good player? You can't think of anybody.
Well, Landon Collins started to pick it up towards the end of the season.
He could potentially.
But this
Prince
team has
Amukamara really. I mean, he's been a nobody.
This team's had a lot of problems, and when I say a lot of problems, I mean the trenches. Now, the Giants are going to have a lot of money of salary. So if you're going to be the head coach of this team, you know that this team's going to be willing to go out and spend and make their team better.
Oh, yeah.
And the number one thing they need to go out and find is work in the trenches, because their offensive line was questionable. Ex their running backs, despite the fact that their well-running performance in Week 17 against the Philadelphia Eagles. Their defensive line got, and I mean literally got, absolutely zero pressure the entire season. For the Giants, this is a personnel problem. This is a problem on the field.
Yeah,
the players that you had out there trying to rush the passer were not doing the job. And I could say the same thing for my New York Jets, because we took on the Buffalo Bills, we took on Tyrod Taylor, and we got absolutely zero pressure. Now, you want to fault Darrelle Revis for saying Sammy Watkins was open left and right in that game. Now, I could fault the secondary for the New York Giants, it's not a bad secondary. Rogers Cromartie is a very good corner.
Hold on, did you say the Giants don't have a bad secondary?
Well, it came down to the fact that if you don't get pressure on a quarterback, how well do you expect to cover in the second? There's no secondary. Ask the Denver Broncos. You don't have Von Miller and what's his name?
DeMarcus
Ware on the outside. How good is that secondary? Now, Chris Harris got exploited in that game. 2 games ago, he got exploited by Antonio Brown.
Oh, yeah.
Exploited.
Yeah,
Big
but
time.
Anybody really gets it.
That's true. Antonio Brown is a freak of nature talent. But when you don't get pressure on a quarterback in the NFL, your secondary is going to look so bad on paper, no matter who you have out there.
I mean, you can continue talking about the Giants when you bring this up, because, I mean, when they were winning their Super Bowls, Justin Tuck, Michael Strahan, Jason Pierre-Paul later on, Matthias Kiwanuka. These guys
got after the quarterback.
And then when they lost these guys,
they didn't get after the quarterback. That's basically what it comes down to.
I mean, there were actually Giant fans that were saying Corey Webster was a very, very good cornerback. When they lost these guys in the front 7, Corey Webster was exploited.
Well,
big time.
That's what it is.
I mean, it wasn't even close. This guy was terrible.
This is how defense will always be played in the NFL. You go after the quarterback, and your secondary holds down their receivers as long as they possibly can, which is not an easy job.
It's not going to be long.
Being a cornerback in the NFL is a very, very difficult job.
Well, especially now because of all the defensive flags and everything like that, you're not allowed to touch these guys.
Absolutely.
So for you to basically run around with this guy, do-si-doing with him for 5 to 7 seconds, you're going to lose. I don't care who you are. You could be Richard Sherman. You could be Darrelle Revis. You can be Patrick Peterson. You could be, anybody. Josh Norman. You're not going to hold this guy for that long without getting a penalty. Basically, that's how it is.
The NFL and the way the defense is played will always be the same. You go after the quarterback, and your secondary holds it down until you get to the quarterback. Yeah. You try to force bad throws. Because you're trying to mess up the timing that these teams practice every single day. You're practicing routes and timing routes nonetheless.
Since
back
June.
Shoulder routes. There's no way to defend a back shoulder pass if it's timed perfectly.
And if it's thrown perfectly.
Unless you bat the ball down, or unless you pressure this quarterback, force him to throw it off his back foot, unless it's Tony Romo, because I've never seen anybody throw a ball off his back foot so accurately. When it comes down to it. Well, it's the truth. I've had Tony Romo in fantasy football many times for that reason alone. If only he was more durable. When it comes down to it, the way the NFL is played is on the defensive side is you put pressure on the quarterback, and that'll force basically 3 and outs, or it'll force the team to punt. But if you're getting absolutely zero pressure on a quarterback all season long, you ask any Giant fan the result of that. You're going to give up 7 touchdowns to Drew Brees. You're going to give up 21-plus points in 90% of your games this season. I mean, they were giving up points to everybody. Now, you talk about all the late games. Oh, we almost won this game in late time. Tom Coughlin made this mistake or that mistake. That's ridiculous. That is a ridiculous way to perceive things. First off, you weren't 1 game away from making the playoffs. You really weren't. I mean, your division was so bad, and the fact that you couldn't win that division And you're going to talk about 1 or 2 games late being the difference. It really isn't. It isn't. It doesn't make the difference. Your pass rush all season long was the difference. Your pass protection of Eli Manning, and this guy Eli Manning was. We go on him for a second. He was unbelievable, and he might have by far had his best season. Now you talk about, okay, this is a Super Bowl winning quarterback 2 years. That's irrelevant, because if it weren't for Eli Manning, the Giants might have not won a single game this whole season, and I mean that literally.
No, that's accurate. That's 100% accurate.
Literally wouldn't have won a game. Because they were giving up points to every single person. Yeah. Every team they played scored points on them. And now it put pressure on Eli Manning every single possession.
The only problem is he only had one receiver, basically, I mean,
Dwayne Harris, who hasn't been relevant with the Green Bay Packers, hasn't been relevant with the Dallas Cowboys. Eli Manning finds a way to create this man.
Yeah.
Okay? And now, and Giant fans talk about drops here, drops there, drops here, drops there. You were a lot of problems away from winning games this season, Giant fans. You really were. You're not one problem away. You're not a top 5 pick away from winning the draft. Or, in the draft to winning a championship.
Yeah.
You better go out and spend some money, and you better spend it the right way.
Yeah.
Because that's how it has to be done. You have to go out and get trenches work. You don't need any help in that secondary. You have 2 reliable safeties. Prince Amukamara, he might not be the best corner, but that could all be judgmental based off the pass rush. They haven't had a pass rush since Prince Amukamara has been on that team. So, he's a good number 2. Rogers Kamari's a clear number 1. You got to get someone to go after the quarterback. And the number 1 name that comes to my mind is Justin Houston from the Kansas City Chiefs. That is someone the New York Giants have to go out and get.
Well, the New York Giants actually will have a lot of money.
He'll be one of the few options, but they're going to have to go out and get something like that.
He's going to be a lot of money, though.
It's going to be well spent because that is a big problem for the New York Giants. It's been a problem all year.
That's the only problem is that's not their only problem. That's the thing. It's not their only problem.
The offensive line is a very big question mark as well. I mean, Flowers picked it up towards the end of the season, started to get his feet wet a little bit towards the end of the season, but it takes more than one guy. You got guys getting older on that offensive line as well. This is not the same offensive line you had when you won the 2 Super Bowls. Yeah. And every Giant fan will be the first to tell you.
Absolutely. But we're going to take a break right quick. We have the rest of our recap of Week 17 and then a preview of the wild card matchups next on the Tom and Jerry Sports Show.
I got the money in the pile. Once you get a little, they just want to take you down, cuz we've been going hard for too long.
The Tom and Jerry Sports Show featuring Kevin Donlin live every Monday on Zeno Radio and re-airs every Thursday at 2 p.m. Eastern on Cyberstation USA and the Stitcher app. You can also tune in every Wednesday and Friday at 5 p.m. Eastern on All Noise Radio and the Live 365 app.
Follow us on Instagram at Tom and Jerry Sports Show and join the conversation on Twitter at TNJ Sports or visit our website at tnjsports.weebly.com or call in to 605-562-7085. Press 5 to be heard live. Follow the NFL this season on the Tom and Jerry Sports Show.
Entertainment Group and Cyberstation USA are now part of Stitcher, a free radio app for your smartphone. With Stitcher, you can listen to live programming as well as archived radio programming right on your phone. To obtain Stitcher, just go to the App Store for your particular phone. Go to search, then type in Stitcher. That's Stitcher, S-T-I-T-C-H-E-R. S-T-I-T-C-H-E-R. Then download. It's that simple. Stitcher, a free radio app for your smartphone. Convenient access to live and archived Cyberstation USA programming on your mobile phone. That's Stitcher, S-T-I-T-C-H-E-R. Cyberstation USA, always on the go.
All Noise Radio, powered by the Connecticut School of Broadcasting. All Noise Radio is an internet radio station that's fully produced by graduates of the Connecticut School of Broadcasting. From modern rock to old school hip hop, country to classical, news, talk, sports, and more. It's the noise you can't ignore. Log on to allnoiseradio.com. Fire up the station. Find out more about your favorite jocks. Get the latest CSB news and more. Plus, you can take All Noise Radio with you on the go for free. Just download the Live 365 app to your iPhone, iPod Touch, or BlackBerry and search All Noise Radio. Check out tomorrow's broadcasters today at allnoiseradio.com. Powered by the Connecticut School of Broadcasting.
Ace
Tom and Jerry Sports Show picks and predictions for the wild card round. That sounded pretty good, right?
Yeah.
Before we go into our picks and predictions for the wild card round, we're going to go into the rest of the recap. We really were kind of interrupted by the breaking news of Tom Coughlin obviously being out as the New York Giants head coach. We're going to move on with the Colts defeating the Titans 30-24, Dolphins defeating the Patriots 20-10, costing the Patriots the number 1 seed in the playoffs. Bengals taking care of business 24-16. They were hoping to have a first round bye week with Andy Dalton obviously shelved right now. They're going to have to play their first round matchup with A.J. McCarron as their quarterback. 38-10 Panthers over the Buccaneers. 20-17 Saints over the Falcons. 24-20 Lions over the Bears. 35-30 Eagles over the Giants. 34-23 Redskins over the Cowboys. Texans 30-6 winners. And 49ers 19-16 over the St. Louis Rams.
Yeah, I mean, it was a good week 17, but again, as we said last week, the last year, 13 of the 16 games in week 17 had playoff implications. This year was a lot different. The NFC was already set going into week 17. It was just basically seeding. So, Carolina and Arizona could flip-flop. Obviously, Minnesota and the Packers could flip-flop. But the AFC was kind of, there was a few things up for grabs. The Steelers and the Jets were still going for a playoff spot. The Patriots and Denver could flip-flop spots.
Denver looked like they could have flipped with everybody after the result today.
Well, yeah, it was the big. I mean, that game had a lot of implications for not just Denver. It had a lot of implications for everybody else. Between matchups and seeding, and I mean, like we said, Denver could have been the 1 seed or drop down automatically to the 5 seed. So, it was definitely up for grabs. Obviously, Denver ended up taking the number 1 seed after the Patriots lost. So it was an interesting week 17, and obviously you don't. I mean, for my co-host, you don't really want to see the Jets out of it, but that's what happens. And on to the Islanders.
That's honestly what I was saying. I was like, hey, you know what? Jets are out. All right, Islanders, I see you now.
Yeah,
winning 6-5 over the Dallas Stars, best team in the NHL.
They were up 5-1 in that game, though.
I don't care. They won.
Yeah, well, I know.
They won the game with a backup. Well,
Halak Halak was supposed to play in that game.
Yeah, he's hurt still.
Expected,
he's clearly still
but
hurting.
He's still on the IR. Johnny Boychuk on the IR as well. Obviously, hockey IR is a lot different than any other sport. But still continuing with the football, but we're going to get into the wild card games now. Yeah, we have the matchups.
Before we get into that, I just want to let you know that you are speaking with Jerry and Kevin. You can call in at 605-562-7085. Press 5 to be heard live. Remember to join the conversation on Twitter at TNJ Sports or at our website at tnjsports.weebly.com. We're getting into the wild card round here. First matchup we're going to go with the Chiefs and Texans. And
two teams that basically were terrible in the beginning of the season, first 6 games or so. And this is going to be a good game now. I mean, this is... When you think about these two teams and the AFC... First of all, the AFC is up for grabs. I mean, if you really look at it. In the playoffs, the Patriots don't look like the usual Patriots. They have a lot of injuries, especially on that offensive line. Who knows if Amendola and Edelman will be back. I'm pretty sure they probably will be. Gronkowski's got to be healthy. Now Tom Brady's got to be healthy. So this is definitely up for grabs. Denver is starting to look like the better team in the division, in the whole conference, being that you're getting Peyton Manning back now. You're hoping that Peyton Manning's going to play the way he did against San Diego or against
and he's got 2 weeks
earlier
to be healthy.
He's
got 2 weeks to get back to full health. Obviously, he was still struggling a little bit going into that game. His movement was a little slowed down. But when we go back to this game, I really want to just take a moment to give credit to the Chiefs and Texans, their head coaches. We've talked about how head coaching could be the fault of a team or could be the praise of a team. And when it comes to these two teams in general, the Chiefs and the Texans, Bill O'Brien and Andy Reid, I mean, you straight up got your team from being at the very bottom of the league all the way back up to the very top. And, I mean, you can't be any more top than being in this tournament right now and a chance to lift the Lombardi Trophy. I mean, that's more of a chance than my New York Jets have right now. And, for both of these teams, they kept it going. Bill O'Brien has done a great job despite the fact of all these different quarterbacks he's had under center. I think Andy Reid has brought the most out of Alex Smith than I think any of us have ever seen. Ask the 49ers. This guy, and Alex Smith probably rushed for more yards this season than I've ever seen. And this was not a guy known for his legs.
But again, he kept away from the turnovers, and that's what he's always been good at. It may not be, in ways that other quarterbacks would play the position because he's not a deep threat. He's not a, more than 10-yard pass, threat. Because he's always all about the short passes and everything like that, the checkdowns.
They made a couple of good pickups, too. I mean, Jeremy Maclin. You're not talking about Kansas City Chiefs not throwing touchdowns to their wide receivers anymore. Jeremy Maclin had a great season for them. If you drafted that man in fantasy football, you are a genius because he was clear-cut probably the best wide receiver 3 option you could have had all season because he wound up being a wide receiver 2, wide receiver 1 by the end of the season. But both of these teams taking on each other when it comes down to it, we have to make a pick. That is our job here. We have to give you the insight of why we're going to pick, who we're going to pick. And we're going to start with you, Jerry. Who do you like?
In this game, I think I'm going to go with the Chiefs. I think that they've been one of the hotter teams in the league, obviously winning 10 straight. I think that their offense is better than the Houston Texans offense. Obviously, they're going to have problems, stopping J.J. Watt in that defensive line. But I think the way that Alex Smith plays, being able to get out of the pocket, also being able to check down and do quick slants and plays like that, I think that's going to throw off the pass rush. I think that the Kansas City Chiefs come out with a victory in this game. Away.
I'm going to disagree.
Okay.
I think the Texans are going to win this game. I have to see it to believe it. I think that's what's going through your mind right now. For the Texans, they're looking at a team that their defense is playing the best football. They just stopped a very good offense in the Jacksonville Jaguars. It is going to be a challenge to score on the Kansas City Chiefs. There's no doubt about it. But it is going to be a challenge for Alex Smith as well to score on the Houston Texans. I think this team is going to be well prepared. Alex Smith, they're going to try to take away his legs early on. You got to make him beat you with his throws. And he has been impressive the last couple of weeks. There's no doubt about it. But for me, Texans being at home, having the crowd ahead of them, I think both of these teams match up very well, and I think the only thing that hedges Texans is their home field advantage, and I'm going to go with the Texans with the upset.
Okay.
That is going to be an upset. I'm pretty sure Kansas City will be the favorite in that game.
Oh, yeah.
We move on to the other game on Saturday. It will be the Pittsburgh Steelers. They take on the Cincinnati Bengals. And, folks, I'm going to go first on this one. I'm going to be quick with it. Pittsburgh lost D'Angelo Williams. That is a big hurting for the Pittsburgh Steelers. Everyone sees the high-powered offense that Pittsburgh can throw out there, and you see A.J. McCarron for the Cincinnati Bengals, and you want to just assume that the Pittsburgh Steelers are going to win this game. Now, I'm going to pick the Pittsburgh Steelers, but this is going to be a very, very close game.
Yeah.
The Cincinnati Bengals defense is clear-cut superior to the Pittsburgh Steelers defense. I think that Pittsburgh's front has gotten a little better as the season has progressed. Their secondary is still a big question mark, but is A.J. McCarron going to be able to abuse that? That is the biggest question for me. If Andy Dalton's in this game, I'm going Cincinnati the whole way. I don't even think it's close, but with the whole thing of that, I think it's going to be a very close game. I think Pittsburgh wins this game, but a very close one.
Yeah, I think it's tough because A.J. McCarron's in this game, and I think because of that fact, I think I have to go with the Steelers. Just the way that the Steelers came into this game, obviously, they're coming into this game, obviously, not thinking that they were going to be in it, because the Jets were playing a so-so team in the Bills. And if the Jets won,
that up.
and if the Jets won, they were in the playoffs. The Jets didn't win, and the Steelers won. They're in the playoffs, and I just feel like the Bengals overall have a very complete team. And, some may say that it's an argument between them and Arizona for the most complete team. But the difference with these two teams, the Arizona Cardinals have Carson Palmer, and the Cincinnati Bengals have A.J. McCarron.
Yep.
That's the big difference.
Who knows? We could be talking. I mean, who are we to tell? I mean, A.J. McCarron can have a great game in this game.
He could.
And he could be the starter for Cincinnati going into next season. They win a Super Bowl the whole nine. You never know.
Well, yeah,
this is the NFL, folks.
I'm going with Pittsburgh,
but
though.
Yeah, I'm going to go with Pittsburgh. I agree 100%. We're going to be back. We're going to go move on to the NFC.
Yeah.
When we get back from commercial break, and Jerry will close it out.
Yeah, we're going to get back into that game, and we'll talk about a little bit of a concussion discussion, if you like that rhyming there. But when we get back, we'll get into all of that. You're listening to the Tom and Jerry Sports Show.
Do you have sports opinions? Or do you want to start your own sports debate? Then Overtime is right for you. Overtime is an app for sports lovers made by sports lovers. This is the best place to talk about sports. Overtime is available at the iTunes App Store. Be a part of something big and help us take the game to OT. Overtime. The game never ends. Follow the NFL this season on the Tom and Jerry Sports Show.
This is the evolution of radio.
Cyberstation USA.
Our inventions change us. They make us think differently.
Something new added to the real world.
The leading edge of evolution.
That development has got to be delivered.
CyberstationUSA.com.
The most sophisticated that I've ever seen.
I'm not sure exactly what the future is, but I'm pretty sure it's not going away.
Connecticut School of Broadcasting founder Dick Robinson.
You know, the media business has changed a lot since we opened our doors in 1964. Now media content is everywhere, on air, online, on the go. More than ever, companies are looking for people to help drive this new media.
At Connecticut School of Broadcasting, you'll get hands-on training on the latest software and equipment in a matter of months, not years. Connecticut School of Broadcasting has placed thousands of grads in broadcast media careers.
It's all about versatility. You see, at a radio station, if you also know how to shoot, edit, and post videos, you become a pretty hot commodity. That's the training you get at Connecticut School of Broadcasting.
Connecticut School of Broadcasting, with locations up and down the East Coast, from Massachusetts to Miami. Call 1-800-TV-RADIO or log on to GoCSB.com. Connecticut School of Broadcasting, the nation's oldest and largest group of broadcast media schools, redefining training in radio, TV, and new media. Get trained. Get connected. 1-800-TV-RADIO.
I will fight till I take my last breath. I got the heart of a warrior, the heart of a warrior. I've been down, I've been out, and I've been.
How you doing? You are back to the Tom and Jerry Sports Show, and no Fantasy 14 this week, folks. There is a thing on Yahoo. If you did win your championship on Yahoo Sports, you do get a chance to play in their fantasy championship. Definitely check that out. I know I got a chance at it. I won my league.
There you go.
I'm a champ.
There you go.
You know what I mean? I get Devontae Freeman and David Johnson as keepers for next year. Two projected top 10 running backs in the NFL next season. Okay, that'll work. I'm very excited for that. But moving on, yes, if you do have a chance, definitely visit Yahoo. If you did win a championship on Yahoo.
And obviously you still have, your daily fantasy. Remember that, it might be the last time you'll be able to play it. So,
that's true.
You got until, February? The beginning of February? Mm-hmm. Obviously the Super Bowl's then. So, I mean, for the last 4 or 5 weeks of the NFL season, play daily.
Yeah,
Play
absolutely.
daily.
Go abuse it while you can.
Do it big.
But we're going to go on. We're going to move on to the NFC playoff wild card weekend. It's going to be on Sunday, and it'll be starting off with the Vikings at home against the Seattle Seahawks. And, folks, this is going to be a crazy game. This is going to be a lot closer than a lot of people think. I think people think the Seahawks have this game in the bag.
Well, obviously,
I disagree.
because of the last game that they played each other, Seattle just basically stop them. I mean, that's basically what you can say. With the Vikings, the way that they're going to win a game is going to be through their running game. It's going to be
and their defense,
Adrian Peterson,
and their defense.
Yes,
you got to keep the Seattle Seahawks under 21 points. It's that simple. You've seen it. You can go look at your own numbers on your own team right now. Every person that's putting on a purple and white jersey. You give up less than 21 points a game, you win the game for the most part. And when you give up over 21 points a game, you don't win. And that is the truth. The Minnesota Vikings have lost every single game this season when they've given up 21-plus points. This is not a team that's having a trouble scoring. They do have the best running back in football in Adrian Peterson. This man needs to get going early. I think everyone can agree with that, especially Minnesota Viking fans. It's going to be tough. This Seahawk defense just held down David Johnson, who just seemed untouchable the last couple of weeks. It's going to be tough for Adrian Peterson. He's got to find ways to create, which I think he'll be able to do. They got to keep the Seattle Seahawks off the field. They got to keep their offense off the field, more importantly. Russell Wilson has been on fire. His receiving staff has been unbelievable, starting with Doug Baldwin and who was that other guy? That guy Lockett, man. Wow. He is a fast human being.
He had about, I think it was either 4 or 5 kick returns in that game. Punt returns, kick returns in that game that he broke loose.
Absolutely. He is a dangerous threat.
He really is.
One more threat in that offense. An offense without Jimmy Graham, who is long a second thought at this point. Irrelevant. I think since he's been out, the Seahawks have actually gotten better on offense. So was that the correct trade for the Seahawks? We'll get into that another day. But for now, we got to make a pick in this game. And I'm going to go Vikings.
Vikings? Okay. You know what? I'm going to disagree with you. I'm going to go with the Seahawks just because of the way that they've been playing lately. Obviously, I'm not a big Seahawks fan. I don't like them. But I think I have to go with them.
They've been the hottest team in football. There's no way for me to arguably disagree with you on that situation. For me, it comes down to the point of this. Do I think the Seattle Seahawks will be able to score 21-plus points? I do not think so. I really don't. I think Minnesota does a great job of keeping them off the field. Teddy Bridgewater needs to play better. It's that simple. Now, people are questioning what I mean here. I can explain to you in just a couple of sentences. Right now, for Teddy Bridgewater, you can't run the ball any better than you have been with Adrian Peterson. Now, when it comes to the play-action fake, he's not finding his receivers. Now, is that a receiver problem? Is that a tight end problem? Is that his problem? There's no way to tell. But all I know is on their bootlegs, he is having a hard time. He has plenty of time to throw, and he cannot find anybody, which is a big problem. And if you can't find anybody against the Green Bay Packers secondary, you're basically out of luck against the Seattle Seahawks secondary. So it's going to come down to the fact, can this team continue to get first downs, continue to keep Russell Wilson off the field, hold them under 21 points, and win the game in decisive fashion. They are at home. They have the crowd on their back. That's one thing the Seahawks do not have this postseason as opposed to last, was that crowd noise and the home field advantage. We move on to the second game, and this is a game which a lot of people will probably agree with you, will tell you this is a matchup between the two worst teams in the playoffs right now, the Green Bay Packers and the Washington Redskins from Washington and FedEx area. They basically, both these teams right now, I haven't seen anything too crazy.
Yeah.
Now, the only one that's looking forward to the winner of this matchup is basically the 1 and 2 seeds for the NFC, because they feel like they have an easier matchup here, because you're either going to take on a team like Seattle or Minnesota, or you're going to take on Green Bay or Washington. What would you pick? Because right now I'd be picking that matchup with that team right away. So when it comes down to the Carolina Panthers, they're rooting for they're basically rooting for the Minnesota Vikings, and then they want to take on the winner of this matchup. That'd be my opinion if I was Ron Rivera.
Oh, yeah.
But when it comes to the matchup of these two, the Packers offense has been the cornerstone. We've talked about it earlier in the show. They've been struggling big time. The Washington Redskins, they just kept finding ways to win games. Kirk Cousins has been playing the best football of his season that I've ever seen, especially in the past couple of weeks. When it comes to this and picking a winner, I'm going to go Washington Redskins with the upset at home. Again, I'm a big fan of being the home team. The only home team I do not have winning is the Cincinnati Bengals for obvious reasons with A.J. McCarron. But I'm going to go with the Washington Redskins. Kirk Cousins playing some good football. That defense, I think, is better than the Green Bay Packer defense. Not by much, but I think it's slightly better. And Aaron Rodgers better get it going. And he better get it going fast.
Well, really, the only time in the playoffs that I feel like that the being the home team really does anything is when you're in a cold area. I mean, when you're looking at
you don't know what kind of weather you're going to get in Washington.
But
if it starts pouring rain there, then who's winning that game?
No, I know, I understand that. But the thing is, the Packers play in that kind of area, so I feel like no matter what, they're going to be able to come to play in the same way that they would any other way, at home or whatever. So I feel like I'm going with the Packers here. I feel like they're going to get the victory in this game. I think the Vikings game may, wake them up a little bit. So I feel like they're going to come in. I think Washington's the worst team in the playoffs. So
absolutely. No, I'm going to agree. Both these teams are going to be banging heads all day. But, speaking of banging heads, we want to get into this movie that had just come out recently on Christmas Day, Concussion, starring Will Smith. And people don't realize Alec Baldwin's in this movie, too. I think it's worth mentioning that he starts. And he plays an important role.
He does.
He plays the role of Dr. Bales.
Yes, Julian Bales.
Julian Bales, yes.
Who, as is with Dr. Bennet Omalu in, obviously the CTE talk, and, he agrees with him. Julian Bales actually worked for the Pittsburgh Steelers. And he disagrees with Bennet Omalu in every sense of this whole thing, except for the science. The science is there. It's hard to get around it. But the biggest thing is nowadays is talking about the youth, talking about when a kid could play football, when these two differ on those opinions.
Well, when it comes down to it, you look at it like this. Julian Bales has been around football his whole career. And when you're around football, you're around the NFL, you worked for the Pittsburgh Steelers. That means you've been around the Pittsburgh Steelers general manager, their owner, everybody, players.
You have the love for the sport.
You have the love for the sport. You love the game. You're a Pittsburgh Steelers fan at most, and you want to watch football. As do I, as does Jerry right next to me. We love football. This is not taking away from our love of the game. But there's a big problem in the NFL right now. There's a big problem in the sport of football right now. There is a line in the movie Concussion that clearly states that God did not create the human body to play the game of football. Now, we've talked about this, and, they show this reference in the movie about, how just the animal, a ram,
yes,
for example. You got the St. Louis Rams. A ram has designed protection around its brain, covering it from the skull, to prevent any sort of an injury like that to its brain.
And they're
they're meant to do what they do,
to ram each other.
And even they mention a woodpecker as well.
Yes,
a woodpecker will obviously peck wood all day long, with its head bobbing back and forth, and it has protection as well from the skull. Why it's able to do repetitive amounts of head trauma to itself. Now, the human body does not have any of this protection. It is floating in water, in a liquid. In a liquid around the skull, and it is moving. So when you get a snap,
and it's obviously smaller than your skull, so it has some movement in there. It has some room to bounce off the walls, so to speak.
And basically, that's the point Bennet Omalu is trying to take here: is that constant head trauma can cause a disease known as CTE, which is basically it's a brain disorder.
What does it stand for?
What?
What does CTE stand for?
Oh, God, I don't even... You have it right in front of you.
The actual words are chronic traumatic encephalopathy.
I don't even think I would have said that word if it was said right in front, if it was spelled right in front of me. So
it's easier to say just CTE, but for those people that wanted to know what it stands for, that's exactly what it stands for. But back to the youth football. Now these two doctors differ in that. And Julian Bales, obviously, he has two kids, both play football. I've always said, every time that we've brought this up, I've always said that you should have the choice. The kid should have the choice. If he wants to play football, go right ahead and let him. And that's how I feel. That's how Julian Bales feels as well. But in other ways, I mean, he's in this Newsday article, and he basically says, I'm a big believer in the benefits of organized sports and the benefits of football. I have 2 children who play football, and I think football is safer than it's ever been. He's also the chairman of Pop Warner Football's medical advisory committee. So that's also adds to, his standpoint with football. Obviously being with the Steelers, being on the committee of the Pop Warner. So, in a way, he does say the film inevitably will probably scare some people and parents away from football, but he believes CTE is an issue for a minority of NFL players from earlier eras, likely for an even smaller minority today because of reforms in the sport. He doesn't think we have an epidemic.
Well, the problem with me, I understand your ruling. You're basically mentioning that you believe you should give your child the choice.
Yes.
Now, I'm not going to give my child the choice of smoking cigarettes. I'm not going to give my child the choice of drinking alcohol at the age of 13. So am I going to give him the choice to play the game of football? I'm not. Because when it comes down to it, when you're 18 years old, you make your own decisions. You want to go out and play football, go ahead. Your brain is fully functional. I'm not going to be taken away from you. You want to smoke cigarettes, go ahead. I'm not going to be the one to take care of it. You want to drink alcohol, go ahead. Again, this is part of, you got to remember, at the age of 13, the brain isn't fully developed. The human body and your bones aren't fully developed. So to go ahead and play the game of football at such a young age, I think can bring more of a risk. Now, when they turn 18 and they know all the facts and they're old enough and mature enough to understand the risk of playing professional football or playing college football or playing high school football, then they go out and make their own decision. And I think that's what scares the NFL the most.
Well,
when these kids learn the facts and learn the idea that, okay, I can, turn into a vegetable by the time I'm 55 years old from playing the game of football, or potentially. I'm not saying it's a guarantee. Like we've talked about many times, this is not. You're not automatically going to get this disorder from playing the game of football. No. And that's the one thing the NFL has always said, that it's only some of the players. It isn't all of them.
Yeah, it's not.
That's 100. Even Ben Amalo will let you know himself.
It's not a lock that you're going to get it.
Exactly.
There's no.
The point is, though, is that it is out there. But it is out there. The potential for it is out there, and it's a risk. And now when you talk about these NFL players making millions of dollars to play the game of football, it comes with a risk. And they need to know that, and they understand that, and that's why they choose to play the game of football despite.
With, with Benedict Amalu and Julian Bales, they also differ on this. Julian Bales says, I don't think the facts support that there are cases of CTE from youth football participation, and I don't think the facts support that kids are suffering or being brain damaged from playing youth football as they had the last 50 years.
Clearly the equipment isn't working.
Well, yeah. He also says, as parents, for instance, we teach our kids a lot of things. We teach them how to snow ski, how to snowboard, how to swim, how to hunt, we teach them about driving. We teach them a lot of sports and activities. And so part of that is our responsibility to teach them the safe and right way to do it. But at the end of the day, all these activities have potential risks, which is true.
Absolutely.
But now, when you go to Benedict Amalu, he says that repetitive blows to the head are high impact sports like football, ice hockey, mixed martial arts, and boxing place athletes at risk of permanent brain damage, which we said, that's obviously the risk. That's obviously the risk.
Yeah.
And, with what he's saying, with these blows to the head, it's causing it can cause irreversible brain damage, and which ends up being CTE, which he first diagnosed in 2002. The risk of permanent impairment is heightened by the fact that the brain, unlike most other organs, does not have the capacity to cure itself following all types of injuries. In more than 30 years of looking at normal brain cells in the microscope, I have yet to see a neuron that naturally creates a new neuron to regenerate itself. We are born with a certain number of neurons. We can only lose them. We cannot create new neurons to replenish old or dying ones, which is true. And you know, he obviously has the science behind it. So we're going to take a phone call real quick. Hey, what's going on? You're on the Tom and Jerry Sports Show. Hello?
Hello?
Yeah, you're on the Tom and Jerry Sports Show.
How you doing? Quick question. How do you think that it's not the parents' decision at this point for their kids to play football now?
How do I think there's no, with the parents?
Like you're saying that it should be the parents' decision if the kids play football. It shouldn't be the kids' decision. But under 18, I believe that it still is. Right now, it is the parents' decision.
Well, it obviously is, but I feel like the kid should be able to. I think you should at least give the kid the chance to play it, to see if he likes it at a young age. Because when you get to the age of 18, I feel like you're too far away from even taking that sport to a college level or to a pro level. I feel like you have to start young with every sport.
To not let a kid play football until they're 18 at college level, and at the college level, they haven't learned much. They don't have the experience. So I don't see how that is going to benefit.
Well, there's always the idea that you can prep up to play any kind of sport. I mean, you're not going to get any kind of head trauma from working out and getting yourself in a physical state to go ahead and play the game of football. Listen, I can give you a handful of guys in the NFL right now alone that haven't played the game, who didn't even know about the game of football until their senior year of high school. And you're talking 1 year of high school ball. And then you go to a college, and that's where the college coach comes into play. Now, you know what it is? The big problem is that you got a lot of these colleges that, they're big-time names and big-time coaches coaching there and scholarships, but that's why they got junior college.
Yeah, but now,
that's why they got all these kind of things.
The question that I have for you is, now these players that have gone to college without even knowing the game of football, playing the game of football.
You've watched the game of football growing up.
Yeah, absolutely. But what positions do these guys play?
You got your option.
I would say that, first of all, I would say most of them are defensive linemen. And in a way, I'm not saying that these guys aren't smart. I'm not saying these guys don't know the game of football. But basically, when they come in, their coach just goes, go get the quarterback. That's absolutely. You're not going to see a quarterback come from not playing all through high school, all through Pop Warner, and then going into college and then being a solid quarterback. It's not going to happen.
Yeah, there's no way an in-depth position like a quarterback or like a middle linebacker can get all that knowledge from not playing. I played football at the middle school level, at the high school level, and at the college level, and there's no way you're going to learn as much as you need for the NFL level by watching football and not doing it yourself.
Well, what about 4 years of college? From one of if you go to a top-tier school with a top-tier coach, teach you every single technique you need to learn. Now, don't get me wrong. When it comes to the quarterback position,
yeah, but now going back to that, how do you get into a top-tier?
I just told you. They got junior college. They got things like that. You need to have the talent. You need to have the size.
Absolutely.
In order to play the game of football. You really do.
Oh, I know that.
So, there's no such thing as not working out and stuff like that to get yourself prepped up and ready to play the game of football.
Yeah.
To be the right size to play with these other big guys that you're playing with. Because these are big bodies like we talked about. They're the biggest. They're the fastest in the world. That's what makes this sport so dangerous at that level.
Absolutely.
But when it comes down to it, I think a child at any age is allowed to, but it's the parents' responsibility to let them know the risk. Now I'm not going to sit here and act like I'm going to be a strict parent and tell my son, that you cannot play the game of football until this particular age. You can go ahead and play, but here are the facts. Here are the scientific facts behind playing the game of football.
And I would do the same thing.
Or boxing, or mixed martial arts, or hockey.
But see, that's the thing. It's not just football.
Yeah, it's
you know, and you know what? You see it in soccer too. Nobody realizes soccer is a big concussion sport as well, and they took away the header in soccer until a certain age. So every sport is getting safer. They're going to try to get safer. Football is very hard to get any more safer than it is, but they're trying. And I feel like, you know, it's just getting better and better, you know, in a safer way at least. And I feel like, you know, you should give the choice to the kid if he wants to play football. But one quick thing, Benedict Malo feels like there should be a legal age for playing the game of football, just like drinking alcohol, joining the military,
well, they all have their
voting,
effects.
smoking.
They all have their effects on the human body.
Driving.
So I agree 100%.
But that will do it for the Tom and Jerry Sports Show. I hope you guys had a good time listening to us. We will be back next week. We'll continue with this concussion, you know, discussion because, I mean, there's so much to talk about. But remember to join the conversation on Twitter. Send us questions. We'll answer them on the air. We'll give you a shout-out. Also, call in whenever you want. 605-562-7085. Press 5 to be heard live. That will do it for the Tom and Jerry Sports Show. I'm Jerry.
I'm Kevin.
Be breezy.
Thanks for listening to another episode of the Tom and Jerry Show.